So he got that one of his award from
Electrolux. They won the movie projector.
and he had a movie projector and screen. So Henry let him
First
take
TV we got, they were around $250 in black and white. An Imperial, no.
Kodak Brownie.
What was the name? of it?
Admiral.
Admiral.
Oh,
You remember you worked
TV.
on it lots of times. You tuned it in the first time we, I didn't know nothing about it. Didn't know even how to hook it up. So you came and hooked it up.
did Oscar know anything about TVs?
Yeah.
Oh?
Just starting with that then.
I was always brave.
That was about 39 years, 1939 about.
39, oh no.
That's one thing. You can call it bravery, can't you?
Let's,
Either brave or something else.
You've been
Not a
selling
gall,
for
I
32 years, Henry. 32
Yeah.
years and it's 80. So it's 40, 59. Oh well.
Grandma just loves to see your picture.
Well,
No, I
Lillian,
don't like my picture. I hate
Herbert Weiss just about stumped me here the day before yesterday, or Mrs. rather. He's got one of those Zenith
Just get that out of the way.
19-inch Space Command
Oh, with the phone.
models, only about 3 years old.
Mhm.
Well, didn't them old,
And it blinks off, and the picture goes out, see?
Mhm.
And it's Space Command, so all you have to do is let it be off for a few seconds, and then push the on and off button, and it
Oh.
goes right back on again.
More decent stuff here, so, you know, this technical stuff, they don't understand. Got Vern and Grandpa. Look at Grandpa there. He don't understand that stuff.
Yeah, they understand it.
well, didn't there used to be a DeForest and a bell on it like these old talking machines?
DeForest,
Yeah, didn't Axel have one of them?
and the Axel had one with a loop antenna, you remember that? Stood on top of
Didn't
that.
he have some kind of a speaker on it too?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think that they called it a DeForest, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Try one of
DeForest, 4-2 reflex.
Possibly. He used to tell about taking the team and getting a radio set up with an antenna and going and installing it for a customer. Sometimes he'd leave overnight.
Well, yeah, that's when I was working for Danielson, and that's about 1922. And 22 and 23. And we'd have all this stuff, the batteries and everything in the rig. And I went, one time I went on a circuit over west of Amory, over toward Gronda, and I guess I had one place I put up one over there on, put the antenna on there, hooked it on the barn, see, and then on the chimney or someplace from the house.
Well, that's a radio.
Then I
Yeah.
went, well, that's for radio, and then I went over by Likens and stayed overnight over by Likens, I guess it was.
Likens, yeah.
And then back into Amory, I think. That was gone 2-3 days anyway.
I sure wish you'd have saved me a wind charger.
I had a wind charger there. And I remember you ordered a propeller for it, and that propeller never was used. It must be out on the farm yet. And we run charge our battery with it, you know, because we didn't have electricity.
No.
And we had that old Central Carson radio got from you, and that wind charger would keep that battery charged up, just sitting right on the ground. And one day I put near got killed, you know. It was a windy day, you know,
That
coming
was
up
it.
that draw, the wind blew pretty hard some days, you know.
We had to
Up
use
by that old
earphones,
wa-
didn't we?
By that old elm tree.
Will you quit turning it
And
my
I was
way?
out
I
there
don't want to be
hooking up the
on.
battery or something, and some way, the whole propeller and the whole thing I had on a stand tipped over. But
That
it
made
missed
it going whirling fast.
going as fast as it could, you know. If that propeller would have hit me, but it just missed me by an inch, you know.
Yeah, Bob had a wind charger too on top of the house there at one time.
Yeah, I sold quite a few of those wind chargers. They had it was a regular sized generator like on the car, only I guess it was wound different, you know.
Different voltage?
It was slower.
How many volts were they?
Oh, we were all using 6-volt
Oh, they were?
batteries, 6-volt batteries.
And they really made the battery bubble, they said. Really
Well,
Well,
turned
it
it.
was a good windy day, you know.
Yeah, now they go. Of course, then if you got becalmed, you know, like a ship, why you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't have these 12-volt batteries very long.
No.
But I remember the first, after we were married, we was married, what was 22, Lil, or 21?
Yep, 22.
22. And Alvin, that is our brother-in-law, married Selma, you know.
Oh, all
And he
right.
had one of those crystal sets. That was then. And you know, there was a little, there was a square piece of metal, or what was that? What they called the crystal. About an inch square. And then there was a bent wire, and then you'd have to find the
Cat
station.
whisker.
Huh?
That was a cat whisker.
Yeah.
And
And
I set that
I'll
up.
never forget, you'd have earphones on, and there was no station numbered, you know. It was just in there, and then you'd put this wire all over on that there inch square crystal, and here we got WLAG,
Pittsburgh?
Minneapolis.
Yeah, WLAD.
WLAG, that was the first.
Forerunner of WCCO.
Yeah, then after a while we got that. And that was a mystery, we couldn't understand. Hear people talking from the city, just think of it.
What'd you think about that, Vern, when that first come out?
Well, I used to go over to Harry Chubbers, he had one with an earphone, and he'd listen to it for a while, and then I'd listen to it for a while. Used to be Johnny Little, what they call it, Johnny Little or Little Jack Little, I think
Yeah.
it was. Little Jack Little over WCCO.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
They used to have some pretty good
And
music.
Dennison sold one of those DeForest, you know, with the loop on top and fork tube which reflects with a crystal like that for detector to Dr. C.A. Nelson.
Yeah.
That's Don Nelson's dad. And he was kind of slow about getting on to how to get that crystal set on there. And, well, he was kind of provoked because I suppose maybe he didn't like he bought that thing and it was so complicated to get it to work. So I was up there more than any place else, I guess, pretty every evening for a long time, getting him adjusted on that crystal. And we had quite a time with that crystal.
Yeah, you had to just get it on the right
Sure.
spots. But I still don't understand how they're made. How they
Well,
get,
it's a crystal that happens to conduct in one direction, and
That's
it's a
right.
rectifier, it just conducted electricity in one direction, and that's what was required for that radio to rectify it in such a way that it would work your earphone.
And now they replaced that part with a little thing that's no bigger than the head of a pin, you know. You can, those little
Well, the
glass
crystal
diodes.
itself didn't have to be very big, you realize how hard it was to get that little wire in
Yeah.
that correct position there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I had a lot of experience with those crystals. Axel got one of those radios from Arthur. He went to Mexico to sell that kind of stuff that he was working for an exporting company in New York. And they sent Arthur down to Mexico City to sell that to the Mexicans. And when he came back, he said Axel ought to have a radio, and he kind of wanted me to sell radios. I thought the fellow from Monkey's radios anyway, I could just well sell some.
yeah.
But I remember when that thing came down to Renander's, that's on that farm out there, the gents lives now, and Renander was upstairs, and the young people, you know, were talking, and I suppose he could just as well go to bed while he wasn't interested in what they were saying. But he comes down and he was watching us there. We were getting it all lined up, and well, if you people think you're going to get anything to come through in the walls in this house, well, you're mistaken, he said. I built this house and I know it, you can't send anything like that through the walls here. So he wouldn't believe that we would get anything.
Was he there when he finally did? Did he listen?
Oh, yeah, he heard it all right.
Yeah.
He'd always twist his whiskers.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
hard for them old timers. Now, like my dad, you know, and Lil's dad, and in that generation, they never saw a TV, you know.
Well,
They didn't have TVs yet.
long
They
before
didn't
this.
believe radio, you know, but I remember what a time I had convincing my dad, but he got kind of interested, and he helped me get 2 long poles. I was, you know, because I'd been kind of interested in it when I was at Superior School. There wasn't any radio really, but there was radio, or there was kind of a telephone, or not telephone, but telegram. And there was a fellow up there, had one of those outfits, and he could pick up way from down Texas with that thing, so I got really interested. And then afterward, when I came home and was home on the farm, I got kind of interested, and so I tried to build one, and then I got my dad interested enough to help me get those long poles for it to put up the area lights, and I got one that was 55 feet and one was 50 feet. And we put one up by the house and one down in the yard a ways, and we got it all ready, and we finally got a set with 1 tube, and
An 01, I suppose?
and that was about 1922.
Hmm.
And then I got the thing, so it was all assembled, and I couldn't understand why it didn't get anything really, and it came on and it cut off.
You gotta have stations, don't you? To get
Yeah,
this-
KDK at Pittsburgh would
Isn't
come
it?
on at times, and then
Hmm.
there was one at Duluth that came on part-time. But finally I discovered that my tube, I had to deal 1 tube, see?
An 01?
And, yeah, no, oh.
Oh, no, oh, that was it.
Oh. So, and I found out it must be the tube that was cutting off. It would come on here for
Mhm.
words, and then it would shut off, you know, and I didn't know, and then tube tester I didn't have, you know, so
Oh, yeah.
couldn't do that. So finally I went up and listened to Jack Clausen. He had gotten,
Yeah,
made one. That's the one I got that made. And I concluded I'd have to get another tube. And Jack had some spare tubes. He had a couple of them, whatever it was. They were about $9 a piece, so that was a lot of money. They didn't know how long it would last, you know. So I finally got a tube and put in, and then Christmas Eve that year, I tuned in and I was able to get KDK at Pittsburgh, and I got a station in Duluth, and so I was pretty happy then Christmas Day I got my radio to work.
Yeah.
But then I found out that I had ordered some of the parts I built, this radio, that was from either Sears Robo Company, I don't know which it was. And I found out that one of the coils, they had one coil inside of the other turning like that, see, to tune it, variometer, I think they call it. And I found out that they had that hooked up wrong. One half of that thing was working, the other wasn't. See, I could only get certain stations.
Half of the dial, sure.
Yeah, sure, I didn't get the whole works. So I went down to the city with somebody, I don't remember who I went with. And I went in a place and bought another variometer and got that put in and got it to work. So it worked on the whole band, see, so I get more stations.